Oh my god, it's a Christmas miracle, we're doing 2 Drag Race videos on this channel in 1 month. I'm like Santa Claus if he was a 5'1" woman with an inexplicably deep voice and a crippling addiction to posting content. Ho ho ho, you deviants and infidels, don't say I didn't ever do anything good for you. So I've actually wanted to do a full retrospective on season 11 for a while now, like I've done with other seasons of Drag Race. I just never had time to get around to it. But because this is the weird holiday purgatory week in between Christmas and New Year's, where the vibes are chaotic, cursed, and you're constantly questioning your own reality and existence, I figured this was as good of a time as any to address a season where watching it makes you feel the exact same way. I feel like generally speaking, season 11 does get a bad rap, and it's hard to make excuses as to why the quality feels less than stellar in comparison to a couple of other seasons that have come before it. The cast is pretty big and diverse in terms of the quality of drag that they bring to the table, and it's not like it followed up a crazy good season. I mean, season 10 was okay. And they had the built-in good fortune of bringing back a fan favorite from the previous season, who people were probably gonna like no matter what. Before we get into what went wrong here, I'll start with what I like first. I think the main strength of this season was that it had some really unique challenges. A few that I can think of off the top of my head are the Magic Show Challenge, the Olympic Games inspired Dance Challenge, and some interesting twists on more established challenges like the Improv Live PD inspired challenge that we got. I also think this is one of the best seasons for the drama if you're into that sort of thing. This season has one of the most entertaining Untucked series we've had in a while. I like that at the very least the queens felt like they were not going to like stray away from how they were feeling in the moment, and they all kind of, you know, popped off. They made good TV, they said things to the camera that they were feeling. And it felt like very old school in that way in comparison to some of the newer Untucked seasons we get nowadays.
No tea, I thought you were gonna be in the bottom this week for this look.
I can't wait to see your ass in the bottom.
I can't wait to see me in the bottom next to you so I can send your ass home.
I'll dance circles around your ass.
Oh, would you?
Everything falls apart for me this season when we get to the actual makeup of the cast and how every elimination was handled. This sounds weird considering we just had a season where there were 16 queens, but this cast had 15 queens, and at the time it felt like they didn't do a great job of balancing the narratives for everyone. A lot of these queens ended up being super forgettable or having lackluster performances and challenges, and I felt like the earlier episodes really blended together, and you could really notice it with each elimination. Some particularly off-kilter moments for me that happened earlier in the season included Soju's whole cyst moment in the first episode, the weird Kahana and Mercedes drama in that one acting challenge where they did like this weird meme performance that wasn't received well and then they fought about it in the reunion, the fact that one team did so bad in a challenge that 6 people ended up lip-syncing, and the fact that the most notable thing Ariel Versace did in the whole season was fall and steal a wig. Just kidding, upon further inspection, it actually was that Ariel Versace left a bunch of wigs behind in the workroom. Not that she stole them, I guess other people stole them from her. You see what I mean? But okay, a forgettable top half of a cast shouldn't necessarily negate the rest of the season if the bottom half have some compelling arcs going on and the competition still feels stiff and close and fair. However, the issue is that after all of the more forgettable queens leave, we still have like a core top 8 that could have been really interesting. However, it feels like the producers just centered in on the narratives of like 5 people in a way that didn't make sense. It was almost acting like a hindrance to the actual performances in the challenges that we were seeing. It was very obvious from the start that the top 5 of this series was going to be Eevee, Silky, Vanjie, A'keria, and Brooke Lynn. Which is fine, you know, every season of Drag Race has a pre-produced top 5 for the most part. But it feels like we're constantly being redirected to the narratives of these top 5 at the expense of other queens who were performing pretty well and seemed like at one point they were central characters, and then they just kind of like fell by the wayside in a way that was almost plot armory. For example, people think that Raja O'Hara, who is wildly beloved by the fandom now, and she sort of had the villain edit at the time that this season aired, was actually doing considerably well, better than competitors like Vanjie or Silky, but was constantly getting put in the bottom. And of course, there are some more obvious examples that piss people off. Most famously, Sugar Cane getting eliminated in the Magic Show Challenge when the group that contained A'keria, Silky, Vanjie, and Eevee did considerably worse. Sugar Cane basically got eliminated for no reason. Her team objectively did better and she did well in the challenge. It's probably one of the most bullshit eliminations in the history of the entire show. There was also the fact that Nina West won 2 challenges and was doing considerably well, only to be eliminated in a lip sync that, you know, clearly was not that great. But in my opinion, I think she did perform a little bit better than Silky. If anything, it probably should have been a double elimination, but they kept Silky anyway. Also, one, I know Nina West is cringe. That's like a generally held opinion by the fandom, so this is me just talking about the context of her performance in season 11. And also, we're gonna get back to Silky. That's gonna be a whole separate diatribe. Just hang on for a sec, we'll get back there. The one other big question mark I have in terms of like weird narratives on this season is Plasti Tiara. It seemed like from the beginning of the season she was also a front runner, even to the point that like in one Untucked episode, Raja pointed out that she was getting special treatment in comparison to other queens, and it seemed like she was received rather favorably, only for her to go like rather inconspicuously at a very random time. I don't know if maybe they just felt like the other narratives of the other competitors were more compelling, but it really seemed like she was polished and she had it all and she was very well received, so it also really surprised me that she like went kind of with no fanfare at the end. Also, no idea why she hasn't been on All Stars yet. That seems like a no-brainer to me. As for the top 5 of this season themselves, they're fine. You guys know that I don't really do all that nitpicky track record bullshit here, but I feel like every single competitor in this top 5 either had a questionable win or a situation where they clearly should have won and they didn't, like more so than maybe any other season. I'm gonna be honest with you, in terms of who I think performed the best throughout this whole season out of the top 5, I think it was Brooke and Akira. And that's no hate to Eevie, I like Eevie, and she, you know, was the main character of the season pretty much. But it felt like Eevie definitely should have had more wins to cement herself as a frontrunner. I still feel like her victory was surprising, but not in a narratively satisfying way. Like, for example, I think everyone universally agrees that she should have won the last episode, but they just didn't give it to anybody. I don't have a problem with dating subplots on reality shows, but I feel like they milked the shit of Brooke and Vanjie right up to the last lip sync. I don't think either of them deserve to be in the bottom for that whole challenge. That was probably like my least favorite episode of Drag Race in a while. The fact that you have this charismatic, really well-known performer like Vanjie and this really strong, well-rounded competitor like Brooke, and they just kind of took them both and reduced them down to this storyline that like really no one gave a shit about, and I feel like it came off like bigger than it actually was in real life. That was super annoying to me, I don't know. I also think they paid Akira dust this entire season, which is not a surprise considering they did it to her again in All-Star 6. And yeah, I guess we have to talk about Silky now. This is complex because I understand why people were annoyed by Silky's run on the show. I understand that she was a big personality. I understand that she was loud. I understand that most people think that she got passes for a lot of her runways and her challenge performances. But like it or not, she made great TV and the producers obviously wanted to keep her around. That's not her fault at all, and to be honest, a lot of people in this fandom used it as an excuse to be overtly fatphobic and racist to her just because they didn't like how she was doing in the competition. And every time I say something like this, I get some dipshit in my comments being like, and that's where you lost me, when you're bringing race and weight into it. It has nothing to do with anything. And every time my response is, I think that's a dumb comment and you're fucking stupid. Silky Nutmeg Ganache has disproportionately received more hate than maybe anybody else in the history of Drag Race. You may not like her personality, you may not like her performance on the show, that's fine. Do you know how many times I've encountered the most heinous goddamn shit on Reddit and Twitter about this performer? How many times I've been out at Drag Race viewing parties and overheard mean New York gays listing their least favorite drag queens, and all of them happen to be fat, black, or both. If you're getting heated about what I'm saying right now, interrogate why that is. And the fact that so many of these same people switched up on her after her performance in All-Star 6 and Canada vs. the World is still so gross to me because she shouldn't have to entertain you in order for you to treat her like a person. So in season 11, was I thrilled about Silky's performance? No, not really. But I don't blame her for it, I blame the producers who saw an opportunity to make her a villain, took it, and made the fandom a worse place because of it. Anyway, now that that rant is over, let's talk about the finale of this season, which I think was also kind of bad. This is our third ever standard lip sync for the crown format, and I don't know, people swear to me that this one is good, but I don't really think so. But I also feel like the lip sync for the crown in terms of the top 4 narratively didn't really add anything to the end of the season because we all pretty much knew it was between Brooke and Eevie, and I personally wanted Brooke Lynn to win. I do like Eevie, I just feel like Brooke Lynn performed better throughout the whole season, and maybe that would have felt more balanced to me had they actually given Eevie more wins, which I feel like they definitely could have made the case to do. It just felt like they were trying to do another underdog story, but it felt like it lacked the complete and total package to make that narratively very satisfying. But yeah, ultimately I just felt like the first half of this season was boring and had mostly filler queens. Then when they narrowed it down to the more interesting group of queens, they threw away a lot of potential dynamic character moments in service of a top 5 that didn't even really feel that well-rounded or dynamic. But okay, let's finish this out with some rapid fire stuff. I have not stopped thinking about this sugarcane look. It is so good. It is so beautiful. I love this look so much. This Trump Grease-inspired Rusical challenge is so cringy and so bad, and I really hope no right-wing conservative media outlet digs it up and uploads it to X out of context, because I could absolutely see that being like the dumb discourse topic of the day. Ginger Minge and like the Trump boy drag though, that was kind of funny. I was entertained by that. This lip sync is good. It is very good. I feel like I should just mention it because, I don't know, this is like the defining moment of season 11, and I don't really have much to say about it other than the fact that it is very good. And Scarlet Envy should have made it farther on both seasons that she was on. Goodbye, everybody. Good night.
She's got a heart on.
Yeah! See you later, Elton John. Yeah!
Jesus Christ.
Woo!
Cheeky bitch.
I can see her butt.
Orange is the new crack.
Yeah!
Oh, she pissed.
Are you mad at me, Michelle?